Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins, of course, and mops and pops, or if you prefer, grandmas and grandpas, and baseball fans everywhere. Welcome to the second week of the Valley Baseball League's video podcast. This week, we're trying to cover the Southern Division teams. Just a reminder, that includes the Harrisonburg Turks, the Stanton Braves, the Waynesboro Generals, the Covington Lumberjacks, and of course, the Charlottesville Tom Sox. And as we cover the Southern Division and really any team in this league, one of the things that really stands out to me is the fact that Dayton Moore, when I interviewed him, said it best. Rather than me tell you what Dayton Moore said, let me let Dayton tell you what Dayton said. Here he is.
It's a building block for everybody. Umpires, coaches, staff, administrators, of course, players. I mean, the league exists, obviously, for players.
All right. So Dayton says this league's not just for players, first and foremost for players, but also for umpires, managers, trainers, and also interns and other analytics or cybermetricians who want to make it into the league. But hey, don't take my word for it. Let me introduce you to one. Joe, take it away.
Thanks, Graham. It is a real pleasure to be here with one and only Gavin Sweeney. Gavin, thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So, as we heard, Graham, in the introduction, you worked with the Charlottesville Tom Sox on an internship, and now you are employed with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it's still crazy to hear to say that.
Well, it's not that crazy of a story, and I think that's what the conversation with Dayton Moore that we just listened to as well brings to bear, is that the Valley Baseball League. We are certainly proud of all the players that go on to the pro careers, but we think about the support staff, the coaches, the trainers, and all the others that around the game, where there's also need for their services in the major leagues, and you are a perfect example of that. So tell us. Let's clear the air on this. You are a sabermetrician, right?
You could consider me that. I'm technically my role is a software developer. So
okay,
I do a lot of. When you think of the typical sabermetrician guy, you're thinking of the guy with the math degree. He or she is running all the models, doing deep stats. I'm more of a data processing, getting that stuff ready for them.
Okay.
So say we get a bunch of data from college league, and I'll process that, get that in a place where our analysts are able to handle it, and then let them do their magic. So I'm a step behind the scenes from the guys behind the scenes.
So, all right. So you're part of the sabermetrics process for the Diamondbacks.
Correct. That's right. Right.
Yeah. All right. So, tell us how you got started doing an internship with the Charlottesville Tom Sox. What led you to that spot?
So it kind of fell in my lap. I was I played club baseball at UVA.
Okay.
I tried to walk on to the varsity team. Didn't make it. Ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
Because I met Ben Casillo, who was on the club ball team at the time, and he knew Jeff Burton, who does a lot of the player recruitment for the Tom Sox. And for the 2018 summer, Jeff had this brainchild of a small analytics group to help. One, gain a little bit of an edge on the competition, and to help guys like me get experience in real baseball. So Ben hit me up and said, "Hey, I know a guy who's interested in creating this program for the 2017 season. If you want to stay around Charlottesville this summer, I think you'd be a perfect fit." So he got me in touch with him, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And then what was the next step then in that process? You went to, how did you get involved with the Diamondbacks? How did they become aware of you?
So that summer, I put together, to begin from the beginning here, Jeff came to me and he said, we're thinking about doing this group. And I said, okay, what do you think about putting together a little a web app, a website for our guys where they can go in, look at their video, look at their stats. So after every game, they go home, sit on the couch and say, okay, let's break down my at bats for today. So I put that together pretty much from scratch. And that was a huge part in landing the Diamondbacks internship, because I had something to show them. It was like, hey, first of all, I applied to many more internships than the D-backs, but they were the first one to pull the trigger. So, I was, and many didn't, let me be clear. But yeah, so that was a huge help for me in getting in front of those guys, because it was like, okay, here's what I've done. Here's what I can do. Essentially, I can prove my value before I even get there.
So let me just make sure I understand this. You created a piece of software, an app that allows baseball players to look at their stats from the game that just ended.
Yes, absolutely. So
and that's amazing.
Thank you.
That's great. And then that landed you a job with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So is this what you were studying for at UVA?
Yes. So computer science degree at UVA. And that's why this was just such a perfect fit for me, because it combines, baseball, obviously something I love very much, with what I wanted to do professionally, which was software, computer science. So those two just came together perfectly. And I really have to thank Jeff and the Tom Sox for starting me down this road.
So what's it like out there in Arizona with the Diamondbacks?
It's hot. It's hot out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It's definitely a completely different environment. And you go from being the guy where everything's under your control to you're working on this little part. You're one part of a greater, bigger picture, which I think for me was really cool. Obviously, it's the amount of information, the technology is a huge step up. Nothing I've ever really worked with before, but I mean, after that first little bit of adjustment period, I think I've been able to settle in and provide some value for the team.
So I got to ask you to tell us a story. When you went out to Arizona, you get off the plane and you're like, you drive to the stadium or to the office, what was going through your head? Draw us a picture here.
So that week was the craziest week of my life. I had 3 major life events going on. I graduated college. My parents had sold the house and they were moving. So packing up in Charlottesville, packing up in Salem, my hometown. I'm from Salem, Virginia.
Okay.
So everything went into a truck and out west.
Wow.
So yeah, we made the trek actually as a family, because my parents were moving out west at the same time. So it was kind of convenient in that. But yeah, it was a wild week. I mean, I remember day one coming to the stadium, didn't know how to get in, had to wait for somebody to let me in, which was brutal. It's a brutal way to start your new job, but all in all, not bad. But yeah, crazy week. I mean, you get out there and it's late May and it's already upper 90s, hundreds, and then you get into the dog days of summer and gets up to 120 there, and it's nothing like I've seen. So It was for sure a change in every part of my life, but I think I'm better for going through it.
Yeah. And now, what was it like when you saw did you get a business card? What was it like when you saw your name and a Major League Baseball team's logo on the same piece of paper?
Yeah, I actually on my nameplate it had the D-backs A there, and it said Arizona Diamondbacks, Gavin Sweeney, whatever my title was at the time, intern. And it was crazy. I remember I took a picture and I sent it around to all my family and friends, and they were freaking out.
I bet. That's an amazing thing. Now, and what's your position now? Software developer?
Software developer. So I started as an intern with Baseball Systems, and then I got hired on full time in October of 2018 as a junior developer. And then just recently I got promoted to mid-level software developer.
That's phenomenal, man. Great track. So you mentioned that you played club baseball when you were at UVA. So you obviously a baseball fan, a baseball player. I take it you have been your whole life. How has your understanding of the game of baseball changed now that you're on the staff of a major league team?
Well, I think about things completely different now. I mean, it's more of a nuanced way of looking at the game, I'd say. And I think anyone who sits down and watches 81 home games a year is going to develop the same things over time. But I think especially with the level at which you know the team and the level at which you get to know your farm system, I think that's a huge thing in your overall appreciation of the game and exactly how hard it is for these guys to get up here, because you see a lot of people that don't. And that's just, I mean, that's the way it is. But yeah, getting to know the system in depth, I think the farm system along with your team and getting involved in more of the roster, you're paying attention to roster transactions and stuff like that. You're watching the waivers closer than you ever had, stuff like, there's a lot of depth in many different areas. So it's like you could almost go down in a rabbit hole of whether you want to get into player transactions, stats, front office personnel. It's like it's a world within a world, really.
Yeah. So you obviously part of a new generation of baseball staffers, data oriented, but just in the time that you've been around the game, how do you see the changes in technology and the way that we communicate at large changing how baseball teams run their operations, and how does that translate to on the field?
Well, I'll tell you what, people pay more attention to the players' social media now than they ever had. And that's a double-edged sword for the guys, obviously. And I think you also see the negative, like with what happened with the Astros over the last, technically 2017 season. There's opportunity for that, but there's also opportunity for depth of which you can never imagine. So that's also a double-edged sword, and that people are going to take advantage of new technology. But at the same time, if you use it in a pure sense, then you're going to know things that would be impossible to know 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah. And so what does that mean for the future? Do you see trends leaning towards using more technology in a different way, or and it's not possible to predict the future, I know, but in your crystal ball as a data guy, what do you see coming down the pike?
I see I think the new Moneyball, my prediction is going to be on the medical side.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be able to. We can't do this now, but I think we're getting to a point where in the near future we're going to be able to know exactly how certain guys should be treated, so they don't, blow out their arm or the warning signs of that, so we can know quicker, and we can start preventing rather than we can be proactive rather than reactive when it comes to the DL. So I think that's probably going to be one of the big things over the next few years. And I mean, it makes sense because the owners are investing so much into these players, and you blow out your UCL and you're done for at least a season. So it's like it comes from a point of protecting investments from the owner side, and also comes from a point of player health and wanting your guys to be in the best position they can at any given day. So yeah, I'd say that's going to be a big thing in the future, but it's so hard to tell.
Yeah, it is hard to tell, obviously. Well, that's a really great perspective. That's really interesting. We're going to keep our eyes on that. So hey, Gavin, let's think about the next generation of software developers and sabermetrics guys that are coming up, for the nerds in high school and college right now that want to be a part of baseball. What advice would you give them to say, focus on this, try that, do these things to hopefully land a gig like what you got?
Yeah, I'd say the number one thing is to get involved. Get involved in any way you can. And one of my mentors, when I was going through this, he would say to me, it's don't passively like something. If you're interested in something, actively be interested in it. And I think that mindset, even though with the Tom Sox thing, I really lucked out there. But if you can go do something like that and you want to do it, absolutely do it. If you're going to college and you're interested in helping your program out, I know plenty of people who have helped their college programs out doing similar things that I did with the Tom Sox, just on an NCAA scale. So there's opportunity out there, and yeah, I think a little bit of luck is going to be involved. I'll be the first one to say that I got very lucky with how things broke for me and how I ended up here with the D-backs. But yeah, that's one thing I would say. Get involved in any way you can.
Yeah, and so find your local summer college league, your
yes, absolutely,
community college team, or something like
find
that.
Your Valley League team.
Right, yeah. Come to the Valley League. Get an internship here at one of our 11 teams up and down the valley, and hopefully you'll run into a situation like where you might get lucky, like you did. Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure maybe there was a little luck, Gavin, but I'm sure the talent has a lot to do with it. So I'm sure you certainly earned everything you've gotten. Hey, thank you very much for joining us today. It's been a really great conversation. Before I let you go, I have to ask, what's going on? What's going to happen with the Major League season this year?
Anyone who says they know that is lying to you.
Yeah? What about Rob Manfred? Does he know?
That's a great question. I think Rob Manfred is throwing everything he can at the wall and seeing what happens. I mean, I think that's one of the most interesting things to come out of this has been, we're going to be doing, there's been tons of plans coming out. There's been the Japan plan. We're going to play all the games in Japan till it's safe. There's the 3-state plan that seems to be pretty popular now. I mean, they're going over every option, which makes sense. And when things get leaked to the media, everyone obviously overreacts a little bit. But I hope we're playing baseball soon. I mean, even if it's a condensed season, I don't care anymore.
Right.
I miss it.
Just get some ball. I know exactly how you feel. Well, Gavin, hey, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with VBL fans while you got the opportunity?
Well, my 2017 summer was an awesome experience for me. I think the Valley Baseball League is it's a unique place in terms of talent and the region and the country. You get to see a lot of old stadiums, historic places. I think there's so much to like about the league, and I know we're going to miss it this year. But when it comes back in 2021, we're going to be all even more grateful for it.
All right. Hey, and when the Diamondbacks travel to D.C. next, hop a ride and come catch a game with us here in the Valley.
Yeah, I'll probably have to put myself in a suitcase for that to happen, but that's all right.
Figure it out, man. Anyway, when you make it home, come by and see us.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Gavin, you have a great one. Take care.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Back to you, Graham.
All right, that's going to do it for today. Congrats to Gavin Sweeney for his success with the Arizona D-backs. It's great to see not only the players, but also the staff and the managers make it out of this league and go on to play in the majors. Tomorrow, we're going to bring you the story of Bryce Rosenberg. He also came out of the Charlottesville Tom Sox, and he's got a similar success story to what Gavin's is. So, you got to verify your facts, not from one source, but from two. So when this podcast is over tomorrow night, you're going to know for certain that it's not only the players, but also the staff that go on to great things. And just kind of a highlight of one of those success stories to come, there was a guy that worked with us last year, Justin Simon. Justin helped us cover the Harrisonburg Turks games, sometimes the Braves, sometimes the Woodstock River Bandits, and sometimes the Newmarket Rebels. He was a force while also working a full-time job. He'd get up at 3 a.m, work his full-time job, and help us cover baseball until sometimes midnight, 1 o'clock, and then get up and do it all again. He was in the process of stepping up to the next level this year, but the COVID virus shut him down. But remember the name, Justin Simon. He's going to be a success story as soon as this coronavirus disappears. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. And on behalf of the league and the teams in this league, we want to wish you all perfect health and a speedy return to the baseball diamond. Until next time, I'm Graham Knight. Stay safe out there.